Tivotele Panyali. Akainde choka choka choka, Tivotele Panyali ndipo pali Makebi mwena lumango choka choka choka, Tivotele Panyali ndipo pali viweme imwe visuzyo choka choka choka, Tivotele Panyali ndipo pali hinkalo iweme. Tivotele Panyali ndipo pali Makebi mwena lumango choka choka choka, Tivotele Panyali mwe bana bachuta bose iwe njani choka choka choka, Tivotele Panyali ndipo pali chimwemwe akainde choka. Tukumba nyari pampando, hey! 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 Umoyo wa suzya visuzyo mumanyumba jala pamuzi tieni tibafunye baba, akainda hambanga iwe choka 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 choka, akainda fumabo sono tukumba nyari pampando, tukumba nyari pampando. Kwa mala hey! Choka choka hey! Choka choka hey! 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 Choka choka choka, Zambia by youth Mwema Farmers Mwalubuka Tubukishi miaka Lord's heading Ilashilia bwino talifisama tulefwa intungulushi shamano Mundubile na Makebi Kaya kala kwali misebo ama bridge, ma school na ma hospitals abantu bale mfwa bwinu impia shale sangwa mu matown na mu compound nomba shisangwa fye muli bapompwe batile bakaleto buyantashi bakawamya inchalo efyo batile nomba abantu bale lila kumitengo shafya kulya imitengo ya fuel Baletila, rule of law, number bantu baletina nukulanda. Do you have a lawyer? Selective justice, mumenso ya bantu ifunde lonse lifwilele abali ya muntu onse. Hapa numba amachito kuingila na mashina nomba madata base bafwaya chance no butungulushi bwa bwino manifesto yabo nomba yonse ni pia ngama solution malaide yalikwi kanchi ya maansa si yalikwisa abantu bale fwaya umutendele nsala ipwe ulubuto intungulushi shamano twikatane nga Zambia Mundubile na Makebi Mundubile na Makebi na tutambikila intungulushi shamano abakwete vision ya chalo baba kalubula bachelo tatulefwaya infinity tulefwaya ulubuto Zambia yakwe twikatani Mundubile vye na Makebi Bayu mulefwaya nani ba taxi driver mwema farmers bashimaini kukopala uko mulefwaya banana bakasukulu mwema zebige mulefwaya banani ulubuto intungulushi shamano twikatane nga Zambia Mundubile na Makebi Mundubile na Makebi ebo tulefwaya lesa tapela tambikafye na tutambikile intungulushi shamano abakwete vision ya chalo
Thank you very much, and I hope you are joining us. Share the broadcast. Today we have a special session regarding the crisis at Food Reserve Agency and the ramifications of corruption at Food Reserve Agency that has resulted in the delay of the opening of the official marketing season. The crop marketing season has been delayed because of the huge haul that has been created by the looting that has been going on, especially the last 3 years. We'll discuss the issue of FRA and kindly share the broadcast so that we can reach as many people as possible. We discuss, and I'll open the phone lines. It will be a brief broadcast. We will not go 3 hours. I think at maximum we can do is 1 hour, 30 minutes, as I have other commitments. But now, for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes, let's deal with the critical issues that are affecting our country. Let me start before I go to the main issues. A journalist, Macpherson Mukuka, from ZNBC, is a sub-editor there, has been maligned, accused, and has been detained since last weekend on allegations that he published a report of civil servants that were, plotting how to rig elections. Now, let me speak to that. First of all, it is incredulous, it's unbelievable that in an election year, not an election year, election season, and in the last mile of elections, in the last 30 days, you arrest a journalist, you truly arrest a journalist. You have EU observers in the country, SADC, ASA, AU. All these are in the country to witness how the police is conducting itself, how the Electoral Commission of Zambia is conducting itself. And remember, there are reports already about our country that they are aware of. If you look at a report by the State Security Department here in the US, they produce an annual report to whichever government they fund. And Zambian government for the last 20 years has been receiving in excess of $500 million a year. So they are subject, because America did radical changes. There were many times when Americans were not aware of how their money were being used. They'll be surprised that they'll be funding dictators like Mobutu Sese Seko or other dictators in Latin America. So there has been an evolution of transparency where the taxpayers demand that wherever our money go, ensure that they're democratic, ensure that they uphold democratic tenets, and they do not abuse human rights and their people. So sadly, Zambia has faced a flurry of negative reports in the last 3-4 years. And the government of President Hakainde Hichilema, I get surprised because they were shocked that the UN could send a special rapporteur to investigate allegations of freedom of expression abuses and the abuse of the law. They were surprised that a flurry of international reports, Amnesty, Human Rights Watch International, have all focused on Zambia. Now we are being compared to, to countries that people would never think would be compared to. Niger, Chad, that we are among the worst human rights abusers, yet we are not at war. We don't have a civil and active conflict. So how do we find ourselves to these low levels in human rights records? It's very simple. It's like when Dr. Chilwa came into office and won that election. He had so much goodwill, there was so much money pouring in, but that money is tied to certain conditions. And some of the key conditions relate to good governance. So the goodwill that President Hakainde Hichilema received in 2021, claiming that he had toppled a dictatorship, through an elective process, that young people had risen to support his cause, that he was going to restore rights of our people, human rights of our people. He was going to expand freedoms, and the political and civic space would be expanded. Yet there an outpouring of resources. The World Bank to date from 2022 have given up to $2.2 billion in soft loans. The IMF gave $1.7 billion. It comes naturally that you be under the spotlight because we are using people's taxpayers' money from America, from Europe. And the standards are immediately raised. You cannot behave like any other African country if you are receiving billions from the World Bank and IMF, because they have accountability benchmarks. If a country is lowly, the efforts will be humanitarian, and they'll not care whether you beat, kill, or destroy your own people. They will just be focused that the larger majority, like in Sudan, those that are displaced, those that are refugees, are fed. They will not bother about your human rights because they know it's totally rotten. But when you claim that you're a Democrat who has triumphed through a democratic process, and then they give you all this flurry of resources, the African Development Bank recently just gave us a $600 million loan to repurchase our euro bond. Like I said, World Bank has given $2.2 billion in the last 3-4 years. And IMF has given us $1.7 billion, and there's another one. You'll be open to and subjected to this criticism. This is how the Lucis Chones and the others were born. Because Chiluba was a Democrat who had defeated the dictatorship. And the immediate thing you need to expand are freedom. The media should be expanded. The civic space should be expanded. You saw that under one-party participatory democracy, we only used to have statutory NGOs, such as Boys Brigade, Red Cross, Girls Brigade. All NGOs were statutory, established by government through a statutory instrument or recognized by government. The birth of NGOs that had nothing to do with government only came in the 90s. And this is what we face now. So President Hakainde Hichilema is facing a flurry of international attention because first night all the support that we have received. He wants money for his energy security. Solar investment should be done in our country. He wants money for development. He wants money for this. All these monies requires that the standards for Zambian is far higher. Look when he cancelled the Global Digital Rights Conference and the flurry of attacks that he received. Just wait. Let me finish with the monologue. It disturbs me. Let me finish with the monologue. Kindly call after the broadcast. Let me just take this short break and I come back. Maybe it's very important.
Ba Zambia, ba youth, mwema farmers mwalubuka. Tubukishi miaka Lord's heading. Iliashili ya buino talifisama. Tulefwa intungulushi shamano. Mundubile na makebi. Kaya kala kwali misebo ama bridge ma school na ma hospitals abantu bale mfwa bwinu impia shale sangwa mu matown na mu compound numba shisangwa fye muli bapompwe batile bakale tobu yantashi bakawa myenchalo efyo batile numba abantu bale lila kumitengo shafya kulya imitengo ya fuel.
Mwana mayo, fue na Sakanya, fue na Kasenga, fue na Mwelu, fue na Mpueto, fue na Luapula, bonse, mwapite vemba, mwapita nelamba bonse, mubebe atiawe, ifita tule vifwaya, shikulu, kafike nipo. Gamamo no muntu aisa mibe patio, kinge ba kingelo mkabe buino atio, kabe poko wa wisokulu, na ule kwa inkito shapa inkito yobe, inshita na iringa, inshita ya apuya. Ekyo na mie wapali nomba, tuimanile bonse pamo, bugukano bugufi. Na kinge tuwa kwa tomweso, kinge tuwa wapali bonse pamo, ubuki ushibwakila. Ekyo batemenwe, fiu mafiesu. Tapali ya unkimo kyo batemenwe iyo. Na wale minetela kotu no ni ndala masheru, tendala mashamuntu, ni muntu ndala masheru. Sube pusheni tanchi, ushewarishwa kono kupenda, nishi balependa minue yangu balependenshi ekyo na bilomba lelo webana mayo webena abana ba mayo bonse twali wa tuine pamo tuileka abantu batuteike mu mfine yo tulefwa tufume muri ukudeta takiringe twasumina kukana mfumie po mwenso pantu ikyalo muntanshi tuleya miaka yabona ipoa.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. Keep on sharing the broadcast. Let's reach as many people as possible. And our saying is folly for this government to arrest a journalist or any member of civic or any grouping that is involved in oversight. The case of Macpherson Mkuka from ZNBC is what I am starting with and condemning, and I was giving the highlights. Why Zambia is held on a higher pedestal is we are deemed as a democratic country, and we're expected to conduct ourselves as a democratic country where human rights are upheld, civic and media spaces are expanded, and where you are not supposed to be arrested for any speech offenses or media-related offenses. If I've offended you and you are unhappy, you sue me in the High Court or in the lower court. You do not criminalize and bring the state into it. And I was saying it's very folly. 30 days, 2020, where is it, 24 days away from elections, you arrest a journalist. And what did he do? They are accusing him that he published an article, an audio, on a page called Earth something, and that page is associated with him. They are totally being unfair. That particular audio, I'm one of the first people to have published it on my page before many people picked it up from my page. Because some civil servants that were attending that meeting were so annoyed that you can have such a partisan conduct of civil servants, even plotting to interfere with elections, plotting to disrupt elections, plotting to aid President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND in the elections. And they were having a Microsoft meeting, not a Zoom meeting, but they used the software of Microsoft, which they distributed to many people. So they distributed to some of us, and some of us were in those meetings anonymously. They had no idea. That's the trouble with these online meetings. And so to come and allege that a ZNBC reporter and arrest such a reporter for that, they are totally clueless. In fact, I was just checking the records now. That same newspaper or online paper published 4 or 5 days after the news broke out. They are just targeting him like it is in an election. For those that have been victims, they can tell you. So here they are. There is a Brian Mundubile debate. Mundubile is at the verge of taking power. The EU, SADC, AISA, African Union are demanding that ZNBC as a public broadcaster must cover both the opposition and the public media. I saw my young brother Thabo Kawana. I don't bother about Thabo Kawana, really. He can say all he can say. He's just some young man. He was our blogger. I remember that I'd employed him to work under Christopher Kangombe on the Copper Belt and would help him a lot every time he came to Lusaka. You are aware of the matters where everyone helped Thabo Kawana is in his serious moments of sickness. He was at the verge of death. Everyone chipped in. President Edgar Lungu, Chitotela, Malanji, myself, everyone chipped in to save the life of Thabo Kawana. Today he stands and he uses that microphone to insult us. He uses that microphone to throw very dirty allegations against the people. All they did was good to him. So the Lord will bless Thabo Kawana. We don't, personally, I rarely respond to him. But he has a habit of making these false allegations. And another matter why I sympathize with the case of Macpherson Mkuka is that I was a victim. A report was published that President Hakainde Hichilema directed the intelligence to clamp down on the Catholic, something that has happened anyway. So there was that report and the letter, and they claimed that the letter was a forgery, and they said I'd published it. They came for me very hard. First, I never published it on my page, or any pages that I'm associated with. It was never published by me. But they came for me picked me up. 12, you know my story. They beat me up, tortured me, and they nearly broke my neck. I lost my tooth. One of the reasons I'm outside the country is that very case. And they grabbed my phones. They did their investigations. They found that first, I was not even an administrator of the page they were alleging that I had published. I was not even near. I'd never contributed. And even when they found the editor, I had never spoken to that editor for a period of 2-3 years. But they manufactured a charge that I'd beaten a policeman to cover up the crime that they had done of beating me, torturing me, and knocking out my tooth and keeping me incognito for over 24 hours without my family or my lawyer knowing. I was a victim of what Macpherson is going through, where if someone tells a lie, you saw yesterday, Tabo Kawana faced a camera and said this particular page is run by Emmanuel Mwamba. And everyone in the media who even knows the owner of that page, the candidate, just laughed at Tabo Kawana. I think Tabo Bulwele, because it's common knowledge, you know, for us in the media space, we're a few of us. But we know who the publishers are. For me, for example, on Causeway, I did a technical audit. We did a technical IT audit to establish who the administrators are. So when we say that the page is run by Brian Mwinga from State House, we are not lying. I have evidence that I can publish. I did a technical audit to establish. And I was telling Tabo Kawana, like he was lying yesterday, looking straight in the camera. And I expected more responsibility from Joseph Mwenda. You cannot allow to have a platform where people are being scandalized, are being defamed, and you are encouraging it, you are not rebutting it, or you are not restraining the people, especially that the people that you are talking about are not available on your broadcast. You have to act with a lot of restraint. So here is Tabo Kawana, lying through his kidneys that I own such a page. You know, when the entire media fraternity knows who owns that page, including Tabo's own friends. So you can imagine that, and when you are arrested, locked up, you are not available to defend yourself. I was beaten, tortured, locked up, and people thought I had published it. And public media said I had published it. Even when the police established the truth, they never came back to the public to apologize that Emmanuel was not the owner of this page, that Emmanuel had nothing. They never apologized for it. And that's the sad part, that the young man might lose his job. The young man might be isolated for things that he may not even have done. And like I said, it's folly for them to arrest a journalist on this. And I was saying there are various reports. The latest one is when they failed to hold the Digital Rights Conference and they postponed it. They had no idea how powerful that conference was. They just had no idea that it was a global conference of human rights defenders and press freedom people and freedom of expression, including the UN, were on board, Amnesty, Human Rights Watch International. And when they looked at the program at the last minute, President Hakainde Hichilema couldn't stand, Felix Mutate couldn't stand that they had to be named in Zambia as human rights abuses because of what we've done to the law. You know, enforcing the law, clamping down on freedom of expression, arresting and jailing people. There's no president that has arrested as many people on freedom of expression offenses as President Hakainde Hichilema. So the latest report, you know, which came from a group of global digital rights, human rights and transparency NGOs, raised major security and governance concerns regarding Zambia. They raised the alarm that Zambian government was heavily involved on state surveillance. This state surveillance, all of you, whoever I call, Bamwamba, WhatsApp, they can infer a number in. Everyone, the entire country knows that it's under surveillance. Our people can't even speak freely. Some say, I can't send an audio because it will be gotten. I can't send a text. Maybe I call you on another number. we are under huge state surveillance. The shrinking civic space and resource exploitation. Coming to resource exploitation, there is a huge report that was just recently released. First, yesterday, we want to Akwalesa. I saw a report by Oliver Shalala in one of the M23s. Oliver Shalala was alleging that the bogus NGO had issued a report on Zambia, and he was saying Emmanuel has manufactured this bogus NGO. Now, I was in London and in Washington. And in Washington, I have many friends of think tanks, friends from State Department, a lot of senior friends. When I saw that report, I said, if there is such a report on Zambia from Washington, where I was just the other week, I think the first person to know it would be me. Why is it being forwarded to me by other people? And then when I looked at it, Washington something, I just looked at the number. Now here in America, many people know numbers, phone numbers are categorized by states and sometimes by departments. There is a code. If you work in government, you'll have a certain code. If you work in the media space, you'll have a certain code. That bogus report was showing a number that belongs to the media. Only people that work for media spaces can have that particular number because of that code. And whoever was creating that would not know those basic details. I knew that that was a fraud document. But what was that document doing? The one that Oliver Shalala and George N. Mutonga were alleging that I had produced. First, I didn't publish it. Even when I received it, I saw it was bogus. Because they were trying to preempt the Global Witness report, the one that was released in London today. So the Global Witness report has been released as a huge event in Zambia. It's on their website. Go to Global Witness. The report has not just implicated the named mining company, it has named the company because the company is listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange. And there's already impact in Toronto over this report that was released in London. But it alleges, the report documents that the Canadian mining giant has infiltrated Zambian democracies, controlling the media space. It's been supporting President Hakainde Hichilema for the last 10 years. Remember, there was another earlier report that was published by the Guardian Weekly as an expose that exposed First Quantum, that it was supporting activities of the opposition in the DRC and in Zambia. In Zambia, that earlier report cited that First Quantum was supporting President Hakainde Hichilema. Global Witness, in their report, are the second major international organization to put a finger on this matter. Of concern is just how much Zambia has lost from 2021 when President Hakainde Hichilema came into office. Zambia has lost something like $5 billion that it could have earned from taxes because President Hakainde Hichilema revised the tax regime that benefits both First Quantum and other mining group. And they've documented the favorable treatment that First Quantum has received under President Hakainde Hichilema, and that is funding this year's election. So there's that huge report that has been released in London by Global Witness report. You can go to that report. Now let's go to the main issues why we are here before I open phone lines. Food Reserve Agency, Suresh Desai. First, it started with the president. The president was in Lumezi and Lundazi, and he promised chiefs, and at the rally that FRA would open, he directed FRA to open the crop marketing season and begin to buy the maize, because it's in the rural areas, and one of the first complaints he has is farmers stuck with their maize, and they're being subjected to briefcase companies, and their reliable institution has always been FRA. So they've been putting pressure on the president, and the president directed that FRA will open. He went to Luapula, even named that I'm directing, open those warehouses begin to receive the maize. FRA, Suresh Desai, and his team came to a press conference and they said it won't happen. And they claimed that there was no enough, the moisture content in the maize at this stage is extremely high. He couldn't even name the price. Even if you are not buying, at least name the price, the floor price, that it can guide the farmers. He didn't do that. It actually came out like a disobedient action from FRA. But you know what? The truth has nothing to do with Suresh Desai. It has everything to do with the state and the manner they've dealt with this issue. Let me just recount a bit. You can stress the crisis when Kelvin Hambwezia was board chairperson. And Kelvin Hambwezia, you know, I love him. He's a typical, what you'd call a typical Tonga. Very principled. He worked under the PF. They couldn't move or shake him. Even under President Hakainde Hichilema, he couldn't move. You know, when something was wrong. They wanted to export maize without processes. Kelvin Hambwezia was a stumbling block. So came in Siazonga Siakalenge is a colleague. He was permanent secretary when I was permanent secretary. He's now deputy secretary to cabinet. Because he's in charge of economic affairs, he went into FRA, dissolved the board of Kelvin Hambwezia, and they appointed Justin Chunka. Chunka, although he doesn't have any necessary operational and managerial skills, he doesn't even have the experience. He came from the ministry for that very senior position. He was put there as CEO of FRA. This is where the problem started. Now today, reports have emerged that there is a very big hole. Let's start with FRA. It owes banks a lot of money because it got money to pay the farmers and it has not paid the farmers. It got a lot of money from a lot of services from suppliers, transporters, fumigators, and some farmers. Remember, farmers were being paid as late as February and March this year. That's when we were paying the last tranche of farmers. So they had to borrow from the banks. The banks will not give them money until they clear. So what has emerged is that the decision to bring down the price of mealie meal, because the market price of mealie meal is supposed to be around 430, 450 kwacha. President Hakainde Hichilema interfered in the market and directed FRA to release maize to ZNS, and at ZNS, then will undercut the millers by selling them the price of mealie meal at 250, 220, 230 to force the millers who they were accusing of exploitation to bring down the price and to stabilize quota, bring an artificial stability in the market. It has emerged that the maize they collected from FRA has not been paid. So there's a huge hole. And in between, members of ministers, people like, I've seen a document of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Nelly Muti, and her company. And lo and behold, our dear brother, the arrogant Max Muwe. Max Muwe, a mayor cadre, a media director, is not even chairperson of information. He doesn't even sit in the management committee. He's a civil servant of the secretariat. He got maize worth $4.5 million, Max Muwe. The speaker has a lot of money. Maybe she has a milling company. You can say maybe it's business, but a cadre running an enterprise, a sole proprietor company, got $4.5 million worth of maize. And ZNS has no choice. It has been writing to Max Muwe to liquidate. Max Muwe is a UPND media director, but he's not the only one. He's among the lowest. We will name the big fishes as we continue to receive the documents. And this is my appeal to colleagues in the opposition, to colleagues where we are. Don't manufacture documents it takes away the credibility of the work that we do. Because when I produce a document, they are going to doubt it. Is it a genuine document or is it a fake document? Do not produce, because when you produce a fake document, the purported author tomorrow will deny it. That is why I can produce 10 to 20 documents. Maybe only one will be disavowed. Many of my documents are never disavowed, but our work is undermined by planting in. I remember when I was live on this program and Given Lubinda had been beaten, a colleague sent a picture of Given Lubinda in a hospital. Because I was live, I didn't, and I immediately showed it to our people. But when I retracted, said, this bed looks different. Does Kabwe have these modern beds? When I just checked the features and I put it into Google picture search, it began to show that it was AI generated. I said, oh my God. So it will take away the story that Given Lubinda has been beaten. Even if you have images, it will take away the story that has been, ambushed and beaten by the opposition. So there will be times when the state or some unscrupulous people will plant a story on us. I remember another unfortunate incident I had is when they attacked us. The UPND attacked President Edgar Lungu in Chingola. And that was, I broadcast usually live, and I was broadcasting live, updating live. And one of our colleagues sent me the video, that ambassador, the video from the attack on President Lungu. And I put it, oh my God, it was an old video. So you can see how much it takes away from the credible work that we do. So colleagues in the opposition, propaganda, how propaganda is done. First of all, don't manufacture documents, because the leakages, the genuine leakages, will be undermined. If you forge a document by Christopher Mundia, tomorrow is going to tell you this, and even the information itself is going to say, come on. Can Christopher Mundia write such an instruction? He's a lawyer. Why would Christopher Mundia leave evidence on the scene of the crime? Because governments change. In fact, many issues, as you know, for us that have been in government, many critical issues that are very sensitive, no document is put to paper, only maybe the payment process or the procurement process. If I want to give you a tender, I want it single sourced. The president is not going to write that, PS, you single source that and give it to Mr. Jangulo. Is $50 million, give it. There will be no such document. However, the technicians at the ministry will know what to do. They will invite 3 bids, maybe 2 are fake, 1 from Mr. Jangulo, and they will say it's direct bidding and they will award him. The documents might look cleaner that way. So when you leak documents, like I'm saying, most sensitive things are never even written in paper. Like in this case, we would not have known that Max Muwe owes ZNS $4.5 million. Why do we know about it? It's because Max Muwe has failed to pay. He got a maize worth $4.5 million and the milli meal, and he has not paid. It has now become, when you steal public funds, you have to account for it, unfortunately. If Max Muwe had taken that maize and milli meal and sold and quickly clear, maybe we would have known later. Or we may not even have found out, but because he hasn't paid that $4.5 million, it becomes very clear that it has to be documented. ZNS, the commandant, has to acquit himself, because that will be on him. If Nelly Muti's company has not paid, they will write to Nelly Muti's company to pay. That's how we are discovering that there has been looting at ZNS and at FRA to attempt to do a noble issue. And that's why I always feel, I feel for presidents, especially when they're inexperienced, like President Hakainde Hichilema. Because you want a price down. So they tell you, Mr. President will deal with it. If you're not aware, they will import GMO foods like ZNS did until we exposed that they were importing GMO maize. They stopped. Now they began to loot FRA. So while your directive is noble, you want our people to be cushioned. The underlings under there see a deal. I personally saw, I've always said I was, I'm the one, and my dear brother Charles Panji, who proposed Link Zambia to President Michael Sata. It was Link Zambia 5,000. 3 weeks later, it was Link Zambia 8,000 because Mr. Sata knew more roads than we had done. In fact, in his speech to Parliament, his inaugural speech, he had even called for the construction of 24 new roads. So when we presented to him and I told him, Mr. President, every president requires a legacy project. You love roads, Mr. President. Wherever you've gone in campaigns, you have promised Western Province a road, and you even know which road they need. You have promised Northwestern Province a road. You've promised Luapula, Northern Province. You've promised Muchinga, Eastern Province, Southern Province, Central, Lusaka. You've always promised roads. Why don't we make that into a legacy project? Kalembeni, just on one A4 page. And in one day, within 2 hours, a legacy project called Link Zambia was born. And he expanded it to Link Zambia 8,000. But there are things that took place after that. Me, who had proposed, and Spanjo, who had proposed this brilliant idea, didn't even benefit from the process. In fact, there were people that attempted to make it a corrupt process. So that's what usually happens. So here, the president wanted lower milling prices in the country. Max Muwe, Nelly Muta and others have feasted, and ZNS have feasted on this money. And now you have a crisis, a second crisis, where a farming season cannot be opened because people looted money. And FRA has no money to clear the banks. He has no money to pay the transporters. He has no money to pay the fumigators. And of importance, there is no money to open the crop marketing season because of the corruption that Siakalenge and his colleagues began to do with Mr. Chunda from FRA and others. That you remember that the US ambassador bemoaned that there was one of the worst droughts in the country, and his government contributed $20 million, and it was looted. He said it was looted. We ended up buying the same maize from Tanzania, where we had sold our maize, where these people were illegally exporting. Even enterprises like Max Muwe, who have no capacity to export, were exporting to Tanzania. And government had to buy that maize back. And the US ambassador, remember what he said about that corruption. He says he's never seen that open and dastard acts of corruption, where people are fearless, public servants are fearless, politicians are fearless in their theft and plunder. Here we are. Here we are. The crop marketing season. It has nothing to do with moisture content. Wamaewa na Mumbipiri, Vekala next to a milling company in Chongwe, in Silverest area. You saw the video, I'll look for it. I was even calling her earlier. I said, Mayo, mpokeleniko video, because there are queues and queues from Greatest Road up to where the milling is of transporters that have brought the maize that have been bought in the field. So, and that milling company is milling the maize and the bran and everything else. So what moisture content is Suresh Desai talking about? Why are they lying to the country that they can't open the crop marketing season because there is a high moisture content in the maize? It's a lie. Look at the queues at any milling company, National Milling or any other. And Wamaewa na Mumbipiri, she stood outside her house and took a video just the other day of long convoys of trucks that have gone up to Greatest Road, going to a milling company. Where is that maize coming from? Yena moisture content makui. So that's a matter we are discussing today. If you have any issues of the matters that we've discussed, please call. I'm opening the phone lines. And like I said, today we are not staying long. I've got a commitment somewhere, so I'll take the calls in the next 30 minutes and then we close the broadcast. So you call now, Please call now.
Fue mwana mayo, fue bena Sakanya, fue bena Kasenga, fue bena Mwelu, fue bena Mpueto, fue bena Luapula, bonse, mwapite vemba, mwapita nelamba bonse, mubebe atiawe, itita tule jifwaya, shikulu, kafike nipo. Gamamo no muntu aisa mibe patio, kinge ba kingelo mkabe buino atio, kabe poko wa wisokulu, na ule kwa inkito shapa inkito yobe, inshita na iringa, inshita ya apuya. Ekyo na miewa pali nomba, tuimanile bonse pamo, ugukano bugufi. Na kinge tuwa kwa tomweso, kinge tuwa wapa bonse pamo, ugukyushi wakila. Ekyo batemenwe, fiuma fiesu. Na pali ya unkimo kyo batemenwe iyo. Na wale minitela kotu no, ni ndala masheru, tendala mashamuntu, ni mtundala masheru, subepushie ni tanchi.
Okay, the calls are in. Let's begin to take the calls. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from, and make your contribution.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. Sinyangwe on the line.
My dear brother,
Ambassador Mwamba,
make your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for this story of Ambassador Mwamba. I think I saw it on your page. The sad thing is, we've seen our president campaigning and calling the previous government Bakawolala, and he's always doing that. But he forgets to know that actually Bakawolala is happening in his own party, and he has not done anything about it. Mwamba, no one has ever cascaded this government. Even Piosheba Tumiloko Zesko, 80,000. And they said it was sent in a wrong account.
$80 million.
$80 million, Mwamba.
That was sent to China.
And they always think like Kwatamano. Look at knowing the UPND mouthpiece when Max but 2 days, nothing, but it's the. So for me, it's just, you know what, Zambian people, open up your eyes. Let us do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, we have a country to protect, and we need to castigate these people with everything that they have done. They are very good at castigating the people in the previous government. But now it is coming back, and the evidence is there. We appreciate you, Ambassador Mwamba. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please call, and let's hear from you. Make your calls. Let's hear from you. Thank you very much. Let's hear from you. Oh, let me switch on the other phone as well. Thank you very much. Today we are discussing those topics. If you have a discussion to contribute. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Matotra sana ba Mwamba, nini bazoka.
Wakabwe badishan mukwaye.
Tulifia kuino mtuelele kwa Mwamba wisi programu ina tuisha kunuma, turerusha tito muwele kunganda, mwise mwoni urupwa. Mwise kutumunila tumufiruka.
Mkwaye.
Nechintu chikalambocho ningatemo sana kwa ati nchite encourage wonzaba netumfu wako pamulabasa wisu wa podcast. Number 1 podcast pa Zambia. Chakuiva ati ubuntu ngwana mbana bufika. Abantu bonze n'abasumina emkwai. So ni kintu kimwe bamwambe kikankara sana ekyakweba ati abantu bachite continue nokola kita campaign kwa ati bali mu opposition bakwate enzoni bakayinde ekirema. Ba president state bale yabapa mu pachulu nokola punda tiyo balambo okufolesha 10 bags ya fertilizer. Iyo bala bati baletere fertilizer muri meda. Ba president state wale imina pala nokula kongeresha mundu bere mu opposition. Waka indi basangira abantu barafona fertilizer wino ili 8. Na lebyumpu wale bapera abantu. Lero bayisabena baleta fertilizer muri meda icyabipya sara bamwamba icyakitike cyakwe bati bahafa commodity Southern province bale kita distribute bwino nombo mwino leso mwabera na ino bache distribute ba supply yali ni gonga baka mweba abantu wa Southern province ura distribution wa pangile wa fertilizer asindi chao na ikefie kwa kwati ururo kupaturura abantu ikintu cyaraso cyo ningami mba kuba mwamba cyakwe bati bonse abo baretrenesha baretrenesha kutira abakese itumpa mukwiba amavoti abantu n'abafura bamwamba ba civil servant barefa abakese mu debt restructuring case bakutira bakakindame baticha nabera naba bara akuri ba mundu betu agesa bakurira manganda bakakindame nga bakapogola kira bakindamike kuri bakampiongo so twatotera sana bamwamba natakutupere ili shitakwa turande konenu turi mifunga kuno kunganda freedom na isa.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador Nebo Mutale Kunukasam.
Mutale, make your contribution.
Ambassador, I would want to speak to the issue that you have raised, the most important issue of FRA. FRA is an agent of the government that looks on the crops, the maize, the rice, and the many other grains. And if you look at how President DCL had structured it, and when you look at the project which were coming on board, such as those projects of the milling plants, the previous regime was heading, or they were heading towards price reduction. That was their main goal. So if you look at that mill plant, which is along Greatest Road, those were the major mill plants which are supposed to be around the country, all 10 provinces. So when these people came, they didn't understand the vision behind it. Where this man, this man is very stubborn, very arrogant. This man was leaving by then. He would have gone and asked to say, what was your plan? What was the idea when you brought up those issues? Instead, he went behind the back. Of course, that was going to be the channel that the previous government was going to use ZNS. But him, without him studying the whole process, he went and he just jumped. But you see, his idea from the word go was corruption. The idea had nothing to do with transparency, it was corruption. Because if you remember, they started bringing the maize all the way from SA, South Africa, and we heard that maize was not fit for consumption, human consumption. So you can tell that the whole idea was crooked, starting from the word go. And you see, that was a time they lied that the country never had sufficient maize in our shelters across the country. But that was a time, because when they took over government, these people, they had more than 3 million metric tons, not megawatts, but metric tons, that they sold out to countries, Congo, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. Okay, so with the idea of all these things, so we are not surprised to start hearing that these people, they went and enriched themselves $1 million and many other things. So the idea of FRA, today FRA is bankrupt. Because, let me not even use bankrupt, but it's not able to function the way it's supposed to work, because the head of state himself, he has a hand, because the person who was doing this selling and buying of maize across the country is the cousin to the president himself. So even himself is a shareholder of all these monies. Thank you.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador Wamukonge.
Mawombe no want to acquire some. Make your contributions.
Ina Ambassador Funinganda Fictina Totera Resa, Pantufintu Sama, Nafyambokura Sokoloka, Pantuisharo Chesuva Ambassador, Yonse Company, iye ali mu corporate na ba government amakampani yonse fye omwanshi bafye ati ba government bali kweteko olubali lwakwakwa ba HH balipoka amakampani amakali abali yavwamba bali bonfya amaka fifine batupoka amaka ya kulanda saiba fo basitana ku makampani kwamba fye Zikta, Zamteo, Zesco wonse ba FRI wonse ama government partners wonse bali bachita boli nokwamba okwiba ndarama bambasada ile chimwe chintu echo ndekoseresha kwa bena Zambia ifi bachita pali ba HH in future mwa bantu bakwalesa twikachite ifi bena Zambia nifo balekerera ba HH ukwe bati wona ule charo chesu pantu charo chesu nabona ula arono kufika pali ino chitabambira abantu bachiri bale supporta ba ambassador ba PF bali shibefu balechita ine kutina arande chintu chona paramine kona chena ili ashira ba fama ambassador umufundo program banimba abali ba major contractor wakuleto umufundo ba ambassador season bale bika ni 2 seasons 2021 2022 shafine yali ni twin years okupanga season program for FISIP wa PF bali lembere na manyu cooperatives ayasha poka po bufundo kufika na inonshita bali bebeli uko bata bantu bafama bafulire ko bapanga ma cooperatives ayanyu abantu bapanga fyonse nama members iraine bayishire ba UPND yali ya last yako batabama abanyu na bena baramboko kanomba tukolere kuno mambasa umufundo wali ambo kuisa mume ishwambo kuisa muma depots ukwisa Africa July ambassador nisho umufundo ma depots now isura by June ama main depots isha para kuna nikani okuma site shani alama big depots nisho umufundo wali isura kali kopa belt kuru depot ya isura kushani ya isura mwe aya nono by July pano tulera ndani chinabe sho mifundo uma depots nomba ba PF ro balefu mapo ine question imwe njipsha ba ambassador ine ndefu anke shibe mpio kosha ba PF ro balefu mapo kulingana na makaya bali shitiri umufundo uwa ma season yabiri aya FISIP umbi umufundo wali shirikari waisura na uma depots July ni shawo isura country wide uwa kulimina ba farmer because my elections yaliko mu August July ni shama depots yonse bali isusha na ma expense yaba PF oro again ba PF bali shitiri amataba aya ko basitwalia bali 3 seasons ngakwa bechirara yali mu depots oro kusabika pona harvest ile ba PF bashire ile wale pera abantu mufundura bashiri umufundo mu depots oretenishina abantu abakwata bumper harvest nomba fyonse fyo ba ambassador ba UPND government mpia bashitisha amataba batwara kuisa uli omufundo basangire ba PF bali leta mu depots bali lipira na transporters na fyonse ile harvest basangire ya pambale muri uli omufundo batwara kuisa oro tu bali rando kwe bati Kongo na bera ko depots ya ma billion bali tumukurumba bene ndara mashawisho ira kwe bati balefu ama metric tons aba Kongo this year ambashire mpya ba Kongo bali pira deposit ya kwa supply ya mataba bali pira kuri farm ya ba HH na ngo bali pira kuri Zambian government because ba Kongo balefu amataba yengi bali pira ko deposit romba ira deposit ya lipire ba Kongo ni state bashitira amataba kuri ba farmer watu walira ba Kongo amataba balefu aya poko bati ba Kongo bashitabe na amataba ayengina nomba so iyi government ba ambassador yali kitakapuche charo chesu abantu bali be charo chesu chose ni shinarangira tibali be charo chesu because yonse ama companies yali connected na government bali poka amaka Zesco bapoka amaka babika kwa abantu babo indeni na yena bachite fintu fyabo fyonse fe so ine ndero mbako kubekara charo kwe bati icharo chesu mwe bantu tapali foundation ya sharapo yonse charo bali akana naba nabo aba mufyaro nababe nama ministers bali barange fya kwiba so pakora fya tu chite kwe fintu wino katu chite vote protection mumone voters yala bafye bwino twarawina ma election lero mutuberere tukwate ekiraka mwe bantu ikyakwebatira ngu kyafye shani tatufire twaya kumayanda tukarolere amavotes yesu mpaka bakapundi okwebatiba muntu bire bawina balamye ekyalo tupoke ekyalo kyesu balishitisha pali ino nshitara ngu tureranda twarande efi tapali ekyo twashara na kyena ababa ambassador nga bati bambye okuturondorera efintofo fyaba nokulira kitwalira byonse ba ambassador baratupera amalyashi nombafe tobafye busy fwe bena Zambia tusambirire po turasita fye omuntu nga afuma fyoko bamiretera obufi bweka mwambokola ali obufi bafather balirandira tumwena Zambia tekyali olustoshi turese koko bareyimira bafather ti olweshen fo baliranda babemi mwalishi bakabwarara ngaleiba ngamono wakumuzara lepano kwipa namba fwe bena Zambia twaresita omuntu uli wonse balishi boko bati ambassador bakasokorora efini baba bakite obubi uli wonse bamona tukuntanshaka basokorora bara mukumutinya ambye ko basapota tukakwikata na nkuti wafu fwe bena Zambia fwe ma citizen twalira arrange ikuru next time vifya kitika fure ture kwata ma responsibilities ukumona ushe charo chesu bare kitwara kwise charo chesu ifwe chiri finish send poke independence wa mundu birera mama cape zuru twasungire kwa ma votes tuchite protect bako bati wagweshe charo wachite restore charo tapali cha sharap
Thank you.
chesu bali chakubera Bill Gates abo ila shafu ya kuchira bombwera shafu number 4 white garungu bali shire program yisoma mingomba iki afu mafe from nowhere kwaleta bena Bill Gates iba PF bashire mwendara mai bali stile na plan na wananga bali ingira bengi ba Bill Gates bali bapera mai ni yapamba basainisha nyama tio na totera ba ambassador.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening, Ambassador Mamba.
Good evening.
This is David Mbuya from Mongu.
My dear brother from Mongu, David, make your contributions. Thank you very much, Nicholas.
You've spoken very well about the maize. I will start with the maize issue. That's why I'm quite familiar. You should understand one thing, Uti. When they came into government, they did not understand how this thing works. When you put the price of maize, the raw maize, at 350 kwacha, it becomes very expensive for the miller to mill it, because 350 kwacha is the price you pick up from the farmer. There's another hidden cost, the empty bag and the transporter and the loaders. So when the miller buys that maize from a farmer, 350 kwacha, it's not the only cost, because it still has to transport it to the milling plant. That's a hidden cost. So you are right when you are saying the actual price of maize with the price of how much you are buying it from a farmer. We're supposed to be buying this maize at 450 or 430. That's when it makes sense. Now we have a problem. Last year, Zambia produced a lot of maize. And you know, from my recollection, the last time FRI ever made those platforms, you know, the concrete platforms where people put maize, that was a long time ago. They haven't done what they're supposed to do. That was those were temporal structures where to store maize. So where we're having a problem right now, the last season's maize, only 5% of it was sold. They failed to offload most of it. So because you see, they had bought 500,000 metric tons, then they bought another 1 million metric tons, which they don't have storage capacity. So every private warehouse in Osaka, any building which was meant to be, even if it wasn't completed, they rented to keep that maize in. But the unfortunate part is the time when they had sold the maize and made those deals in Congo, they couldn't meet the demand. So the government allowed people to bring in GMO to cover up the mess of ZNS, that GMO story. Say, no, this GMO is going to Congo. Unfortunately, that move made the Congolese no GMO maize meal. So now, the Zambian price can't compete with the GMO maize from South Africa. So Congo market has been disturbed. As we speak now, a bag of meal on the border, Kasubalesa border, is cheaper than a bag of meal in Chirabombwe. At Kasumbalesa, because of market prices, a bag of minimum is going for $11.50. That's a Zambian maize. But the South African brand is going for $9. So Congo has a choice to buy GMO or buy Zambian maize. But unfortunately, the Congolese, it's about quantity. And the GMO, they don't mind because they've been eating it now. We created our own competition. So we don't have where to flaunt. Secondly, these numbers which this government keeps on talking about, 5 million metric tons, all that crap, that can't work. Where will they store it? Zambia doesn't have storage facilities. Zambia doesn't have silos. So even if farmers produce so much maize, where do you keep it? Where do you store it? And you should know from 2011, I know, when I was in government under the European government administration, 20 to 30% of the maize which is bought by FRI goes to waste. If you talk those numbers, 20% to 30% of that maize which you are putting in tarpaulins, how do you even treat it? How do you spray it with medicine? How do you treat that maize? So look at it practically. It's just not possible. Zambia doesn't have that storage capacity to keep the maize. So we are in a very big problem. Why? Because we have a government which does not listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ward David from Mongu. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
My name is Daniel from Cape Town.
Daniel from Cape Town. Make your contribution, my brother.
So, my contribution starts with a post that Kasonde Mwenda made some time back. He posted a thing proposed by the UPND to start to put laws on small-scale farmers on maize storage and other stuff concerning agriculture in small-scale farmers. Now, he said the UPND government is trying by all means to kill small-scale farmers and to give a upper hand to the commercial farmers. And in the UPND government, we've seen that ever since they came into power, it's been struggle after struggle for the small-scale farmer. And you would imagine in election year, so for me, it is a clear picture of what Kasonde Mwenda was saying, that truly the UPND government, they want to bring in their friends, commercial farmers, whatever pay them a contract here, winter maize, so that the small-scale farmer would die slowly by Kubapera Mameda. This time they can't buy their maize, and so this is a wake-up call to small-scale farmers. This is the second time the UPND is disappointing you. Would you go ahead and vote for the same person? Because Mundumu election here would want to do anything to pay the farmers to say maybe this side I'll get a vote, but still he doesn't care. We'll start buying when, and then the board chairperson says something else. So the farmer, I'm urging you to the Sarakari. Eronga mwavotera vanomba tavakamipere nomufundo tavakamipere chiri chonse. If they can't buy maize now, how are you going to prepare for the next farming season? They never paid you that season because they never wanted you to prepare for the next farming season. So, whoever do them, Papa, Tangavaika Tafekunga, Obo Mulima, Nishinomba Katuishikesa, Komuzambia. So, it's up to the farmer to vote wisely, to think twice, to think thoroughly on what you are voting for. Because Umuntu Ikatafekunga Muzambia, Tawama. So, already, so go and vote and protect your vote. because epo fifikile bakatani na kufama ngata ukwete ubunga no wakukushitata ukwete nishina baliaba shitabaka banesala and bafamu moto wa maruru areas tukakutukira kuisa. Look at your surrounding neighbors. Mumbi ni mumba pera mataba. Nomba ngata mkwete mumka ya romba kuisa. So bafama utonto nkanyepo na totara honorable.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Chungulo kumkwai wa mwamba.
Ndita mkwai barishani.
Kwena umi tukwata.
Landen poya mani mwebani.
Nemu nshirungulwa.
Ndita.
Shirungulwa saiporo. Warumbule shinani nshirwa kukonka.
Mkwai.
Wa mwamba ififile chitiketi muno Muzambia kuno kwena. Fwewe ngitwali fimwene. Twarishiwe n'entungulushi kwewe ati nga twasala y'intungulushi ifike atumbuka munifi neryo nicho fwe bantu tatumfwa iyo nakula kwali insoke kula bati yo aho katumone ifo cyaraba cyaratumbuka refi atumbuka munifi fine tule kwata numba kuri amashu yambyo na umfuire abakalamba bambi baleranda icyanumba rinde balandiro kweba ati the PF were petty thieves, but the UPND are criminals, hardcore criminals with the keys to the vote. Ba PF wale iwa ufunga nomba ba UPND bena bale nitula tuwabani. Bantu mwana na maskandos yale kichika muno mucharo chesu chino. Ngamwati mumone iria hii scam yakwa Max mumone 77 chinga milioni umuntu wapoka nokulipira akano okulipira ukola muta remind nomba iye kafe scandal femwe yafuma ko yini eyo twaishiba nga yambi ama scandals yambi otatwishibe yelepera kuisa bantu natumfwa baleranda tiyo na baspeaker bene balingira maskandos yambya kwa bati balerongo obunga kufamu kumyabo lero amasaka barebika masaka ya ZNS ivyo pia na fishing kefi mamona twali umfo kwe bati ba ZNS bale shitama GMO obungo kufa ku South Africa balesa baleronga baleshtisha abantu muno Muzambia muno ubunga bwale bora abantu bashitatu wala kungando sanga tubunga buntu bwabura nakwa demititi byonse fyo abantu kabati balande ko wale bafeni dalala yo wiralanda kwefyo fintu ifinga ma scandals tule umfanye kamwe abantu kitafuna sala ndati umfweni flex kaniki nishapo bala mkonka nisaiba chabashari bamukolengesha bamutwara okadiati nishipafito yo muntu yo maskando ayengiba ambayo tuye umfwa aya kweba atuzegenes na recruitments yene alya yabufi munesanga ta recruitments bambi abantu bareta recruit at your database umuntu achita pass out mu 2015 muna mu 2025 usamune china yakho leta yapia tumuntu ayingire chito 3 years ago ngabonzi yapa IPRF la sharia kuisa so fikisha kwa UPND fyo bachitire abantu ni batogwara alaba imifisha maksha pera ndachakwe bati abantu tabayime ukwe bati tuvote tubafunye kwa bakatwishikaro cyesoko cyana aya abantu amaisosero bali yafunyapo takwa bakulanda hiyo ngawalanda bala kukonka abantu bayekala fishiri dafini watu tubala kwati nikapanga mu bwendo apererwa numba ushefu tukalaye karefi akwena ifi akulande fingi ba mwamba nshikwe lero natuma ni akapifwe kala charo tupoke charo chesu mukuru aba.
Thank you very much.
Ifyo chingabe fiyo
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good evening.
Good evening.
No, thank you, so, sir, for you to come back to this wonderful platform. Hii platform wa mwamba tunasambila po efintu ifingi sana. Hello, nde milomba wa mwamba hii platform, since my election, we are now getting closer with your experience and the knowledge mwa kwatai. Tunalomba ngakuti mwaesha sana na maka yala wako nimbi after a day or even daily, because the information we get from this platform is so educative and so informing. Now, I'm coming to the major issue of Ifara Mwamba. Mwamba, if you have agriculture, muno Muzambia tualikwata many department which does even crop focusing and estimating what we are going to produce and the marketing. So today it's 21st July and we've got only maybe 14 days when we Zambian are deciding who's supposed to become the president of this country. So takuli we iya kwevati wa government bara leta pali inonshita fyala bafifi akwangala, because the government ngabali prepared ya kushita mataba kuma farmers which are bafi omulimi. Those people are dealing in agriculture produce and marketing. The program was supposed to be done in December last year when the farmers planted, the crop has been germinated. They were supposed to progressing with the crop focusing, no kushwa kwa ticharo to alashita produce. So na market bali no kusanga kale na takuli market, even the money was supposed to be secured. So evo chile mwone kapali inonshita. This government, they are quite strategic. Let me say, they are quite strategic to develop agriculture sector in this country. Despite the current president was talking about being a farmer, maybe in animal farming or other things, but not in crop producing and other crops like soybeans, wheat, maize, tobacco, and other things. I think the current government tabakwete plan. Ichi ama farmers bafile baishiba. There are ama farmers now abika pacha ambaso. I government ilefo kushita buy time, because at this moment bamwamba they cannot even tomorrow president naga inde ichi ne mayo Zambia nati ba efora yabakambo kushita amataba. The preparation of even starting purchasing the maize, it will take 3 months before something started happening on the ground. So for chili our government balipoaba tabakwete strategy ya kushita amataba balefwaya ukwabuka. They are thinking that if they win election bakesa po some farmers they will not even care about even what the farmers will get, whatever it is. So it's up to the farmers and the Zambian people to know. From 1 up to 30. Never government. This is the first time we're having a government by now. Flow price. Flow price doesn't mean kushta mata. By June, 1st June or the month end of May, the flow price it was supposed to be given to the farmers in consideration with the production costs. So ni ma chances of these are businessmen, and it's Zambiani. We should open our eyes. Twisuli amenso. Kweba tibushe. Uyu muntu kuti atusunga o chirishan. Zambiani ninga tuwala sendage. Ukuti tuwala mmansansa nangu out of emotion, out of the region, out of the tribe affiliation. This is what we are trying to make our future. Abantu they will throw us in the bus and even the Bible says the leader without vision, people perish. You cannot tell us until this time, Mwamba. The government are saying that they don't have the price for the maize of this country. No, now they show for our dealers. They will get the money from other institutions outside of the country. They will agree and to make massive profit, not to sacrifice some farmers. It's ourselves, we Zambian, to make a decision on 13th. That to lay angara to allow Fumapali frying pan to Kayapamulilo. I thank you, Amwamba.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Do you have any contribution to call? Please call so that we are not going to stay long, so we want you to call now. We are discussing the issue of crop marketing season that has been delayed, and now we understand we are owed, FRA is owed a lot of money. It owes banks and institutions like ZNS if not paid back. And now we have a list of UPND senior members, former ministers, including the speaker, that owes ZNS a lot of money. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you can call. You can call so that when we close the broadcast, we should. Now, as you have seen, they've looted FRA, but they're not dancing. So who's Wapombo now? Who's the crisis at FRA started with Zuma Siakalele, Deputy Secretary to Cabinet when he helped dissolve the board of FRA, and they brought in the new people that were brought in, and now we've seen the disaster that this matter has brought. The farming season cannot be opened on time because people were looting both ZNS and FRA, and ZNS is owed a lot of money. We've also demanded the release of Macpherson Nkuka, ZNBC reporter, who's been detained for the last few days on a flimsy matter. It's just harassment of the media. Now we even understand that harassment at ZNBC and public media is literally gone ethnic. We demand the release of Macpherson Nkuka. He's just a journalist doing his job. There's been a report that has been issued by Global Witness. You should look at it. Very powerful report. It is implicating First Quantum and President Hakainde Hichilema. And remember, the president said we used to meet with First Quantum in the toilet of the airport. He himself has confessed during the period he was in opposition. But of concern is the amount of money that Zambia has lost of taxable income from First Quantum, which has dropped from $1 billion a year to under $250 million. That drop, if you see, they'll give you a figure that the 1 billion is still being contributed by the mining sector. But when you examine, you will find that over $800 million is actually pay as you earn by workers. So that's not a proper contribution. Then we reviewed here that Max Muwe owes ZNS $4.5 million. Max Muwe owes ZNS $4.5 million over the maize and meal he obtained and never paid back. And there are letters that have been released from ZNS that Max Muwe, using his company called Wesim Enterprise, I think it's designed from his name, Max Muwe. Wesim Enterprises, he was told that he should pay back the $4.5 million, which is 77 million kwacha, and Max Muwe has not paid that amount. And he's not the only one. We understand the Speaker of the National Assembly, there are documents that have emerged that the Speaker of the National Assembly and other senior government officials are among persons and business entities owned by them, the PEP, politically exposed persons who have not paid. And this work started when they removed Kelvin Hambweza by Sia Zongo, Sia Kalenge, Deputy Secretary to Cabinet when he dissolved the board. He helped dissolve the board, and Justin Chunga was appointed, not Chunga, but Chunka with a K. And since then, it's been downward for the FRA, and we have seen an escalated looting of the FRA and ZNS.
Fue mwana mayo, fue vena Sakanya, fue vena Kasenga, fue vena Mwelu, fue vena Mpueto, fue vena Luapula, bonse, mwapite vemba, mwapita nelamba bonse, mubebe atiawe, itita tule jifwaya, shikulu, kafike nipo. Gamamo no muntu aisa mibe patio, inge ba kingero mkabe buino atio, kabe poko ba wisokulu, na ule kwa inkito shapa inkito yobe, inshita na iringa, inshita ya apuya. Ekyo na mie wapali nomba, tuimanile bonse pamo, ukukano bugufi, na kinge tuwa kwa tomweso, kinge tuwa wapa bonse pamo, ukukiushi wakila, ekyo watemenwe, fiu mafiesu, na pali ya unkimo kyo watemenwe iyo. Na wale minitela kotu no ni ndala masheru tendala masha muntu ni tundala masheru sube kusheni tanchi ushewalishwa kuno kupenda ninshi balependa balepende minue yangu balependenshi echo na bilomba lelo webana mayo webena abana ba mayo bonse twali wa tuine pamo tuileka abantu batuteike mu mfine yo tulefua tufume muri ukudeta takilinge tuasumina kukana mfumie po mwenso pantu ikialo mkuntanshi tuleya miaka yaona ipoa.
I'm just reading from a friend of mine. The Chama North MP Yotam Mtachala has been summoned by the police that there's a complaint against him from a UPND cadre. This business of summoning journalists, candidates, Xavier Chungu lies in prison because of this harassment against the opposition. Sorry, and excuse me. And Mtachalo tells me that he's been summoned by the police in Chama. He was past MP for Chama North and is contesting, and he's been summoned to appear before Chama police over some funny case of a UPND cadre that has reported him. Again, SAD will track that particular story. Mwantu Wakwalesa had promised that I'll take calls only up to 21:30. I think I did take, and let me say goodbye, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.
Ba Zambia, ba youth, mwema farmers mwalubuka. Tubukishi miaka loads heading. Iliashili ya buino talifisama. Tulefwa intungulushi shamano. Mundo bile na makebi. Kaya kala kwa limisebo ama bridge, ma school na ma hospitals. Abantu bale mfwa bwinu impia shale sangwa mu matown na mu compound numba shisangwa fye muli bapompwe. Batile bakaleto buyantashi bakawa mya inchalo efyo batile numba abantu bale lila kumitengo shafya kulya imitengo ya fuel. Ifwe tule fire ma solutions tefya kulumbanya fiepa pepa. Mundu bile na makebi. Ebo tule fire lesa tapela tambika fye. Na tutambikila intungulu shishamano. Abakwete vision ya chalo bakalubula bachelo. Tatule fire infinity. Tule fire ulubuto. Mundu bile fye na makebi. Mundu bile fye na makebi. Baletila, rule of law, number bantu baletina nukulanda. Do you have a lawyer? Selective justice, mumenso ya bantu. Ifunde lonse lifwilele abali ya muntu onse. Hapa numba amachito kuingila na mashina. Numba madata base bafwa ya chance no butungulushi bwabwino. Manifesto yabo numba yonse ni pia ngama solution malaide ya likwi. Kanchi ya maansasi ya likwiza. Abantu bale fwaya umutendele nsala ipwe. Ulubuto intungulushi shamano twikatane nga Zambia. Mundu bile na makebi. Mundu bile na makebi. Ebo tule fwaya lesa tapela tambika fye. Na tutambikila intungulushi shamano. Abakwete vision ya chalo babakalubula bachelo. Tatule fwaya infinity. Tule fwaya ulubuto Zambia yakwe. Twikatane mundu bile fye na makebi. Bayu mule fwaya nani? Ba taxi driver mwema farmers bashimaini kukopala uko mule fwaya banana. Baka sukulu mwema